I want to introduce you to one of our premium vendors. And for those of you who may not remember this, before you can become a vendor member with Cyria, we actually do a background check. I email your information to a contact I have at the Attorney General's office. They do a check to see if there are any outstanding complaints, and we want to be able to give you vendor members and sponsors who really want your business and want to do business the right way. And I'm very pleased to welcome HomeRiver Group to our group. And I want to introduce you to our liaison, Rich Graham. And with that, Rich, I'm going to be quiet and turn it over to you.
Thank you, Vicki. Thanks everyone for being on the call today. We really appreciate you giving us the opportunity to present. We think you'll find the information helpful. And as a reward for being on the call, each of you will be entered into a drawing for a $25 Amazon gift card. Just put your name and email in the chat and one of us will notify you or notify the winner before the end of the day. If you have a question, please put them in the chat and we will go over all questions at the end of our presentation. As she said, my name is Rich Graham. I am the Business Development Manager for Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky. Joining me on the call today is one of our most experienced property managers, Sharon Sadiel, our Property Services Director, Bridget White, and our Regional Market Director, Brooke Donaldson. Sharon, Bridget, and I will be sharing in the responsibility of presenting. And with that being said, at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Sharon.
Thank you, Rich. And thank you for everyone that's joined so far. Paul, Marcia, thank you for being early birds. It literally is the early bird that gets the worm sometimes. This morning was an early morning for me, I know. So I just appreciate you guys being on call early this morning, and I realize that people may kind of drop in, but so far your odds for that gift card are pretty good, 50-50. I just got to say that's pretty good. That being said, I just want to kind of jump into today's presentation. We're just going to share some tips and tricks from our organization, things that we've been working on as a team, and hopefully this will be applicable for where you guys are today. Before I get started, normally I kind of gear this more towards people that are investing and in the home management itself. Paul and Marcia, could you give me an idea? Marcia, I understand that you're doing more of like management. Paul, are you also working in management? Are you investing? Are you more of a vendor?
So actually, my full-time day job is I'm a deputy prosecutor in Indianapolis, so I'm a lawyer. Originally, I'm from Kokomo, Indiana, so I've got 7 doors in Kokomo, which I manage myself. Very lucky that I've had really no problems during COVID. So yeah. Yeah,
that's awesome. It's been really a challenge for all of us, and I know we as a group have struggled. And it's kind of interesting that our HomeRiver team has transitioned over the last year, where we've been able to take the Indianapolis team that we've had here and strengthen it in one of the most trying years. Honestly, COVID-19 has just hit us all in such a hard way. So I'm hoping that some of the tips and tricks that we share, even if you're in a great position, but will just help you to get to the next level. So I appreciate meeting both of you, and for everybody else who's joining us, stick around, let's get started. My name again is Sharon Sadiel. I'm one of the property managers with HomeRiver. And today we're going to talk about 3 principles that are going to help you take yourself and your team to the next level. It doesn't matter if you're a team of 1, a team of 10, 20, 500, it doesn't matter. You've got to have a plan to succeed. And today we want to talk with you about understanding your team, getting them involved, and how we're going to help you to help them get to the next level to succeed. I want you to think of yourself as the coach. Possibly you're the owner. I've got in here captain for the manager, but really managers and owners are working hand in hand. I mean, your investments are our investments. The things that you're investing in, that's my job. So this is something that I just want to emphasize, that the people that are on the call today, think of yourself as the head coach of your team. When we do a breakdown, sometimes we think of maintenance being your defense. And later on, I'm going to talk about that in basketball. Ironically, I have a basketball theme here for a presentation. I'm not a sports person, but my team back in my company has been coaching me, so to speak, that defense is the way to win the game. So we're going to talk about how maintenance is your defense that's going to help you get the upper edge and win the game when it comes to real estate. And then, of course, marketing is your offense. Again, we'll touch base on that just a little bit later on. Today, we're going to talk about 3 principles on how to drive your team to win. If you want to make the playoffs, you got to be ready to coach your team. We're going to be talking about teamwork. Again, it doesn't matter if it's just one person, you still have to drive yourself. And if it's a team of 10, 12, 20, you've got to know how to manage that team. We're going to be talking about goals because a team without a goal isn't going anywhere. So we're going to talk about 1-year goals, 10-year goals, how to kind of set those goals, get that ball in motion. And then we're going to talk about the concept of the long shot versus a layup. So in basketball, you've got the mid-court where you're making a shot. You've got, a layup that's right up against that basketball hoop. But those, they both count, but they're very different layups of how you do it. But we're going to talk with you about how there are some principles of management where it doesn't matter if your property is nearby, right down the street, or if you're in the next state. There's some principles here that are going to help you to manage that process. I mentioned just a moment ago that maintenance is your defense and defense wins the game. A lot of the people that are on the call today may be more of a management standpoint. I'm in management, but we know that we have to work hand in hand, and we call this our tournament bracket. This is your key to success, is working with your team. So before I go a little bit further and talk more about the principles we talked about from a management standpoint, I want to pull in our Director of Property Services, Bridget White. She oversees our Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky market for our company, and she oversees that maintenance portion of it. And again, like I said before, maintenance is that defense, and defense wins the game in basketball. So we want to talk about how her strategies help us win when it comes to our investments.
Thank you, Sharon. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bridget White. I am the Director of Property Services for HomeRiver Group in Indiana. We also manage Ohio and Kentucky. It is important to understand how consistent maintenance is key to the owner's defense for their investment. When a property manager passes the ball to a team member, it is often to someone in the maintenance team. So maintenance goals rotate through an amazingly simple process that involves need, cost, and time. Everyone is familiar with Benjamin Franklin's quote of time equals money. This simple quote applies to so many business practices, but no more so than it does to property maintenance. For owners, dealing with maintenance issues can be both expensive and time consuming. It is frequently something that most owners know extraordinarily little about, so unless you are a do-it-yourself kind of owner, maintenance can be difficult. For many owners, maintenance is a hassle for just one person. The issue is compounded if the owner lives far away, or even if they're local, but they have travel or family obligations. Regular maintenance, or even updating a property to be released or sold, comes down to time. Time to restore, time to correct the issue, and in some cases, time lost if not done correctly the first time, or even choosing the wrong maintenance partner, which is why knowing the basics of who, how, what, and why is so important to determining what time is needed. For simplicity, part of HRG's game plan is to use a simple equation to determine time needed to complete a maintenance work order. We use $1,000 equals 1 day. It is generally thought that anything under $1,000 can be completed in that time frame. It is also a common myth, one and done is better and cheaper, or that any jobs that require more time will naturally cost more. Sometimes that can be true, but sometimes it can also be done with a flat rate, which management companies enjoy over independent owners. Due to the volume that the management team can offer a vendor, in most cases, this practice may reduce overall costs, which can offer a better product at a reduced price. We feel it is important that an owner know from the start who is going to manage the maintenance and turn process. Sometimes it can be the same person, like myself, or sometimes it can be delegated to our coordinators. Knowing the team members is important to all aspects of the maintenance management team. So we introduce you at the very beginning when owners come onto our team. Maintenance is a #1 concern of most tenants. The decision to remain at a property or move out is largely based on maintenance required for a property. Issues dealing with comfort, does that property offer the conveniences that they're looking for, like dishwasher or a laundry hookup, or frustrations like the plumbing clogs no matter what I do. If they stay or go, it's generally up to the owner's willingness to make those changes to keep a good tenant. Maintenance can become an owner's #1 concern, especially for emergencies. But what is deemed emergency for a tenant may not be an emergency at all. Like a player who can't find their game shoes for a specific game, a tenant's wants are not always what the team needs to be concerned about at that very moment. So I deal with everything from changing keys to pipe breaks on the daily. Having a team member who knows the difference of what constitutes an emergency may be the difference between several weekends away from friends and family for a single owner, or having a team that will handle the property with care 24/7. At the beginning of a turn, a list of suggestions is offered to an owner. If all work is completed and all suggestions are accepted, then the play can proceed, and you will typically gain points to win at the game of investment. But there is always that rogue player who wants to play by their own rules. Sometimes it can pay off, but more often than not, the team will have to adjust. There may be some losses, and eventually we will return to the original playbook as planned and eventually win the game. Completing maintenance in turns is generally dependent on having a good tenant, owner, and team relationship. As part of the team, we'll be able to resolve those issues a tenant would find troublesome, correcting those issues throughout the game and making a slam dunk, which takes continuous planning and effort. Some owners are less concerned about doorstops and sink aerators than they are with more notable concerns like mechanical or plumbing issues. But believe it or not, all these issues are important because no matter how good your game is, tenants find the small stuff frustrating. So it's the job of our team to know what has been checked, to keep the owner informed of the tenant concerns over those repairs, and know the difference that allows for handling of emergency issues and anything in between. It is no fear, not all repairs need to be done today. Like every good team plan, a team should know what an owner could face and how to handle it should it happen in the future. This could save an owner a lot of time and a lot of money. A good team can identify those issues and inform an owner of potential concerns for the future so that the plan can be adjusted if need be. So I'm going to ask you a few questions now, and you don't have to answer, but just think about your answers. Let me ask, how many of you have pictures of all of your belongings for insurance? Of your house that you live in, the roof, its current condition, your garage? Would you know what to do if there was a fire or a flood? I would bet that most regular homeowners don't have pictures aside from the front and back of their house. Did you know that insurance companies will not reimburse you if you don't have before and after photos? Most photos have to be recent within the last 3 to 5 years. That includes personal and real property. Most do-it-yourself owners may not have the forethought to take pictures of a property before the work is done, with the mentality of, I just want to fix it. So even in the social media and TikTok age that we live in today, you won't find more than 1% of property owners who actually take photos of their property, and that's just madness. So reporting on your properties, like annual inspections that include taking photos of your property, can help you save money every year. These reports can add to your capital expense reports to illustrate needs for the future leasing or resale and help you prove that repairs made to a property could help lower your property taxes or raise your overall worth of your investment. While your PM will help you determine what costs to save for management expenses, it is the maintenance team that will be the most diligent to be careful not to spend excess on high quality. Rather, we focus on commercial grade that offers the same standard output of life and wear. Maintenance also will need to be informed of all your HOA regulations if you're in an HOA, or the local authority requirements, which many independent owners ignore. This knowledge will come in very handy with violations and how to handle them quickly to avoid future fines. Maintaining a property for long-term and even short-term can help owners understand the benefits of the team versus the one person on their own. A management team's job is to help owners determine long-term maintenance goals, seasonal maintenance goals, emergency maintenance goals, and offer property tax saving measures such as regular inspections and photos of proof of completed work. Like any sports team from basketball to curling, communication is key. And for a management team, it is no different. Management and maintenance must keep in constant communication using email, text, IM, and phone communication constantly. Regular communication with owners, whether they are local owners or owners who are in a different state or country, the lines of communication and regular input should always be available to any owner. If an owner has a difficult time reaching one member, they should feel comfortable enough to reach out to a more responsive team member to engage without feeling that it's overstepping their boundaries. And know that once a contact is made, all parties within the team will be informed of the owner's desires for their property. Our maintenance team communicates with our techs and vendors on the daily, and modern tech solutions such as our vendor app and constant regular communication using email, text, and phone. We vet all of our vendors to encourage the same response from our vendors that we would expect from our techs. But should a problem arise, we work with our vendors and depend on those partnerships that we have built over the years to correct those issues and train them to be better so that we can all grow as a team. Team does not stop at just one person. It means you get everyone from management and maintenance to accounting, techs, or vendors as needed to get the answers and offer the due diligence needed for all owners. In other words, we put ourselves in your team's jersey. I will pass the ball back to Sharon so she can illustrate the management offensive strategies to keep the team on the ball and ensure the owner is in the game. Sharon?
Thank you so much, Bridget. Really, thank you. If you can't tell, I mean, we're just incredibly proud of our team that we built here locally and then with our team overall. And, you know, ideally, when you leave this conference today, I would hope that you're going to have these tools and strategies that you can take back to your team. And we just want you to have the same pride for your team and everything that you're doing as well. So forgive us if we refer back to our team and things like that, but we're just incredibly proud of the work we've done in the last year or so. That being said, Paul, Marcia, I'm sorry, but your odds are going against you. We've got more members on the phone now. So I just want to remind everybody, we've got a gift card at the end. Sorry, Paul and Marcia, it's no longer 50-50. We got more people on here now. So as it continues, we'll do this at the end of our conference today for that gift card. Very excited to give that out and just do some good back for the people that are, partnering alongside us. And we believe all of you are partners. So let's go ahead and continue on with the presentation. Bridget was just talking about things more from a maintenance standpoint. I want to touch on some keys and tips that we have from a management standpoint. And if you do have questions, because we know this is a lot of information that we're going over, at the very end, we are going to have some time to go through questions and answers. This is an open book. We really believe in strategies to help each other and help grow with each other. So we believe we're a stronger team when we learn from you, and we want to share our knowledge with you as well. So any questions and answers or ask at the end after Rich finishes out today. Let's talk about your team. Your team, as I said before, it usually starts with one. It usually starts more with an investor. Sometimes in management, we think of ourselves as being kind of the center of that team. I will often say that I'm, the center of a spoke of a wheel when I'm dealing with my owners. So you often think of your team as starting with one. And for some people, it may not really seem to grow more than just that one person. You may be handling it all. For some teams, you're one of many. But actually, even when you're just one investor, or if you're one of many, we actually are all part of a much larger team. So I want to encourage you, first of all, even if you are just the single person managing your own investments, to think of yourself as the head of a team. There are other services around you. We have property services. I may have a maintenance supervisor. I may have other maintenance coordinators that are involved. But actually, all of us work with maintenance. We have vendors, we have outside people, electricians, plumbers, things like that. So we have property services that we interact with. Accounting, you may have an accounting department. You may actually have a CPA, a certified property accountant. You have someone that's helping you crunch your numbers. It could even just be, your sister. It could be someone else around you, but you have somebody who's helping you out. Real estate broker. You've got to have real estate brokers, real estate people in place in order to transactions happen. Online marketing, you may have different avenues of how that's being taken care of. Assistance, full-time, seasonal help. All of these are part of your framework of your team. We want to talk about how you're going to make this framework work better for you. So your team starts with you. You may have some managing elements that you believe are more of your inner circle, your outer circle, you know, your home team where you actually have employees around you. You may have people that are vendors that you're more partnering with, but actually all of these are your team. So first of all, I want to encourage you with at least 4 different strategies of how to motivate your team to do more for you. Get involved with your team's work. So that means individually getting involved to understand what's going on a daily basis with your team. I'm including your vendors in this. Understand on the daily basis what's going on. It doesn't mean you talk with them every day, but if you don't understand what their day looks like, then how are you going to help them to handle the workload that you're giving them? It could be a specific employee. It could be a vendor. You know, I've got a vendor right now. I need carpet laid yesterday for this house that I've got, but they realistically can't get in until Saturday. I have to understand what's going on. Well, they're up on a roof right now and they're trying to catch it before we've got ice that covers those shingles. That's reasonable. I need to understand my vendor's workload, the other employees around me. And then once we understand their workload and what's going on around them, we can understand what do they need. Do they need additional software? Do they need help to prioritize their work? And ultimately, you know, it doesn't matter if you're a high performer, low performer, all of us need someone to listen to us. We have things that are going on. We're real human beings and they need to be heard. So take some time to just humanize the relationship between yourself and that other person and listen to them. Make a big deal out of appreciation. So this is number 2, to help build your team, make a big deal of appreciation. You know, I've already talked about working closer with them to understand what's going on. So as you work closer, you're going to appreciate what they're doing. There are other things that you may already know about, but there's some elements of what they're doing you may not have been aware of. You need to appreciate those small things that you're not even aware of them doing. And when I say appreciate, I don't mean a quiet thank you. I mean, bring it in front of the rest of the team. Find a way to do that, whether it's a team meeting or otherwise. Bring it in front. It could be an email. Bring it in front of the other team and be loud. Show them appreciation in a very loud way. You want to foster an environment where effort and creativity are recognized and rewarded. When you're doing this, this brings us to our 3rd step. You're letting them know that they are more important than simply their job. People want a real role beyond the job description of being on the team. They don't just want to be part of the team. Of course, they want to be part of your team. They want to be part of the element of success here, but they want to be more than that. They want to feel that they are more than that. And they need to feel important, not just as a worker, but as a person. Help them to align their goals with what you're doing. You know, help align their goals so that they're not just a cog in the wheel, but they're actually managing your process well. Ask them for opinions. Show them what they provide for your business. Show them the importance of what they're doing. And then outside of what they're doing for your business and for your work, ask them about their personal goals. Sometimes we don't really understand how their personal goals are impacting the business. Sometimes, you know, you have personal things that are going on. You may not understand, for example, why you didn't have an answer on a call. One of our team members recently was having some medical issues outside of work. Well, they had something that had happened outside of the call, outside of that time period, and they needed some additional help at that time. But they work above and beyond. You know, understand their goals outside of work. Why is this important for your investment? Because as you ask them about goals outside of work, and you maybe even assist them with resources to help them manage their goals, what you ultimately do is you create an employee or a person who is more competent, confident, and loyal back to your own work. The next thing I want to talk with you about is making goals. You know, a lot of times the biggest mistake I see individual investors make is that they don't make a goal. They don't run their own company or their own investment portfolio the way that you would run a large company. And that's a huge mistake because your individual investment has a significant impact on the way that your finances are being handled. This is your job. And I want to encourage you to make some real goals and to make some real budgets here. And I'm going to show you why this is so impactful for you as an individual. Homes are not just 1-year investments. These are 3, 5, and more 10, 20-year investments. And in order to fully realize the potential of your investment, you've got to understand the goals of what you're doing with that investment. You know, the first question we have is this home a flip, or is this something that you're trying to hold on to? What type of investment do you have? That's going to affect your maintenance, your renewals, your rents, your staffing, all of that. All of this depends on the goals that you have for that property. We're going to talk for just a moment about your budget. So why are we going to plan ahead? Why are we going to look at this budget? Overall, just what's the importance of the budget with your plan? I want you to think of your budget as being more of an accounting or a financial vision board. So a lot of the investors that I work with, they do have the concept that in order for us to get to the next step, you have to kind of envision yourself there. Well, your budget is your financial vision board. A budget will do 5 things here that I just want to point out that are going to help you with your investment. The first is, of course, it's going to keep your eye on the prize. It's helping you to understand where you're going with your investment here. The next thing is it's going to help you to not overspend. You know, all of us want to save money. But when it comes to small choices, we don't always make wise decisions. I have owners all the time that kind of waffle when they have to change flooring. Do I do vinyl plank? Some have even asked me tile. Carpeting, what grade of carpeting? Some don't even ask those questions, they just say carpet. But all of these are important questions to ask yourself, depending on what's your budget for this year and what are the goals of that budget. So for example, if you're going to be selling the house, you know, in a couple months, you may not want to go with the more expensive flooring option, but if you're going to hold on to it for a little bit more, you may invest more now to save money down the road. Budgets also lead to peace of mind. You know, when things get chaotic, when COVID-19 happens, for example, when you have a budget in front of you, these are real numbers and numbers don't lie. So they're going to tell you really where we're at today. That's going to give you some point of reference of where you were at last year, where you're going next year. And it's going to help you to kind of adjust things as you need to. Instead of just getting focused on the loss that you have this month, it's going to help you to understand the bigger picture of your investment and how your strategy is working on that investment. And then budgets also help you prepare for emergencies. So again, another issue that I see sometimes going on with homes is, and it happens all the time, is that my investors don't have enough money set aside. So just recently, for example, one of our homes has a tankless water heater that is having to be replaced. And it's just the strategy of the spacing of it and everything. We would prefer to put in a less expensive water heater for a rental, but because of how this is set up, tankless is the way that it's set up. That tankless water heater is over $5,000 to replace. That owner was not prepared for that type of expense for that type of item. And this is what I'm talking about. When you're understanding your investment better, then you're going to be able to prepare for those emergencies a little bit better. And even for the things you can't count for, just having that nest egg set up and being prepared for that, your budget should allow for that. And then your budget sheds light on bad spending habits. These bad spending habits are something that you're able to kind of take apart on a whole different level with a budget, things that you would have overlooked. One of my major multifamily homes that I was taking care of, you know, 350, 400 unit property, they were actually losing money on a copy machine. We were able to reduce it to 1/3 of the price. It was kind of funny, but we saved over $1,000 that year just because of copier expense. That was a very small line item for a property of that size. But, you know, budgets are the ones that are going to help us to see where we're spending money. Budgets help us focus on the cash flow, they improve your profits, and they increase returns. You know, one of the questions I had with my owners just recently, or one of my new owners, is I asked them, have you raised rents? They kind of hesitated. They're like, well, we're in COVID-19. Why would I raise my rents right now? And then I just said, okay, have you paid more for your expenses? Well, yeah, I mean, there were the fires in California, which increased the materials for wood, and it's been harder to get vendors. So the prices have gone up to get vendors out to do work. So yeah, of course I'm spending more. Right, so you acknowledge you're spending more, but you haven't raised your rents. I know you're hesitant because of renewals, you don't want to lose people, but realistically, are we still in the same budget? And our budgets need to reflect our current time. So what this does is it challenged them to think outside the box a little bit and consider if maybe even a small rental increase would be something that we need to consider. And then letting us as a management company handle the conversation with a tenant as far as why we had the rental increase. A budget is going to help you with all of these, but ironically, I kind of did this backward because all of us can kind of acknowledge we need a budget, but some of us don't really know where to begin. I mean, we do a budget for this year, sometimes for a quarter, sometimes for a month, but actually I want to encourage you to think 3 to 5 plus years out. And I want to talk with you about the benefits of having a 3 to 5 year plan. You know, a 3 to 5 year plan helps you to analyze your investment a little differently. And we're going to start with the question of what's the purpose of your investment? If you're selling next year, or if you're holding for 10 years, the way that you're investing in this house is going to look very, very different in this property. So realistically, you know, are you setting aside enough for your investment right now, depending on what type of investment you have, if it's something you're selling for this year or holding for 10 years? Capital projects is something that we often look at in more of like a 3 to 5 year plan range. So it's not uncommon for an owner to come to me and say, wow, we just did an inspection of the property. That roof looks really bad. We need to replace the roof. But they're not necessarily understanding how they're going to do that. Well, let me give you an example. When you're doing a capital project replacement, for example, on a roof, those capital project items can sometimes have tax advantages depending on how you put them in and what year you put them in. So some capital project items, and you need to talk with your CPA to get specifics and to verify, confirm that all of this is true for you. But some capital project items can only be used as, the expense can only be used as a reduction when there's income. So a lot of times, for example, you might think of doing a replacement of a roof when somebody is not living there. It might be easier, but actually that may be the wrong way to do that, because you want to have that maximum amount of income for that year so that you can claim the maximum reduction on your taxes that year. So you want to do that at a time when, for example, the property is fully occupied and you're not having an eviction that year. That might be the better time to do that type of a capital project. You want to have enough money you can reduce on. And then another question I want to ask you is, when are you going to need this money again? If you're needing the money monthly, which some of my investors, I mean, truly, they're trying to use this as income, then it's going to look different than if you're needing the money, for example, annually. Some of our IRA plans, IRA investing, they're not actually doing the draws on a monthly basis. So they're letting the property have the money sit in that account for that property, and they're not putting it into their IRA or withdrawing money from the IRA except one time a year. Why? Because there's often with some of these IRA plans, there is a certain amount of charge or fee that they charge per transaction. So by not putting it in, 12 times a year and not taking it out every time they need a maintenance expense, so basically what they're doing is they're nest egging the money and they're using that same money for expenses. Then what they're doing is they're reducing that cost. So instead of 12 or even 24 transactions, let's say, $10 a pop, that's at least $240. And I know for me personally, I could spend that somewhere else. I don't need to spend it just in fees and charges. So they're using more of an annual approach on how they handle their money instead of doing that monthly. And it's just, again, understanding when you're going to need this money and how you're using it. And then I also want to encourage you to think about how much should you risk. So a lot of times we see these low cost homes and we think of them as being these great buys. But low cost homes or flips are actually, if you think of it in investment terms, high yield investments. They have a great potential for gain, but they also have a great potential for loss. So when you're thinking about a low cost home or a flip, do understand that you could potentially even lose all of it. And be prepared for that. But again, you can also have that great gain on it. Moderate returns are going to be homes that are a little bit higher in price. They're in more stable neighborhoods. But those moderate returns are going to have less of a risk and they're going to have a slower gain. So they may have similar gains overall long term, but you just need to understand, what type of investment are you trying to invest in right now? And then I want to encourage you, make sure that your plan, the plan that you set up, which is your 3 to 5 year plan, your budget, your plan needs to match how you're investing. So again, I mentioned before about these low cost homes or flips. Too many people will see a great deal and they'll just kind of snatch that up, but they're not necessarily matching it with their goals long term. So consider when you're doing these investments, does this goal long term match what you're doing right now. If you're interested in doing flips, small investments, things like that, that's fine, that's great, but make sure that you're prepared for that with your nest eggs and otherwise. And once you have a plan, I encourage you to stick to it. The last item I want to talk with you about is managing near versus managing far. So basically, when you're managing, a property or properties that are within a small radius of where you're at versus the next state over, communication and timeliness are really the keys to managing, whether you're near or far. It doesn't matter. You're basically taking care of these tenants and these vendors, and it's all about how you're communicating and how quickly you're communicating, how you're going to stay on top of that communication. I have an analogy here that I want to share about the importance of timeliness and communicating effectively. So I'm just going to go ahead and share this with the group. The IU basketball team is in their bus and they're on their way to compete in a game, when suddenly they're lost en route and they find themselves on the side of the road. After flagging down several cars, finally a man stops and they ask him, "Where are we? Can you help us?" The man stands for several minutes, looking at the team, looking at the bus, and then he kind of nonchalantly says, "Well, y'all are in a bus," and then drives off. Too often, we lead our teams just like the man responded to that basketball team. We take too long to respond, and when we do communicate, we state the obvious without any real solutions. Effective communication has to be responsive, and it needs to be timely. The last item I just want to review here is, when are you going to handle, hiring a national team? As your portfolio grows, I've often encountered investors that have had success and they've done all the right things. But as their portfolio grows, then sometimes they find themselves in a position where they're not sure if they should take it to the next level and hire a management company or not. And this is kind of my barometer of when you should hire a company, is when you can't stay on top of the communication and you can't offer those solutions timely, then you need to consider reaching out to someone else for help. So I just want to encourage you that, you may be on top of your game and able to handle it now, but as you continue to grow, this is a good way to kind of check yourself. If you're getting complaints that you're not getting the solutions out there quickly enough and you're not able to handle the communication, then it may be time to step out and ask for some help. A leader is more than a manager of labor. You are a head of a team of human beings. And to win, you have to honor the team. I talked about showing appreciation consistently, and it doesn't matter if it's employees or vendors, tenants, prospects. I mean, we all need to do that. And even our relationship with you here today. You are the head of a team of human beings. And I encourage you, whether you're working with management or maintenance, you need to find ways to be a great cheerleader, not just a leader, but a cheerleader. Help other people in your team, to give them all that they need so they can give you all that you need to succeed with your job, your investment, and your team. Rally your players to effectively play the game. That's going to help you to reach your goals. It's more than just playing the game and knowing the rules of property investment. It's all about teamwork, goals, and communication. So I'm going to go ahead and step back here for a little bit. We want to thank Vicki for giving us this platform. But I'm going to turn this over to Rich. He's one of our real estate brokers here that leads our development team. And I just want to thank you all for your time today.
Thank you. Well, as Sharon said, much of this is about teamwork. We consider ourselves partners with our owners. We've created our services to align with what investors need, and where possible, we customize those solutions based on investor preference. This assures that we are aligned with the goals of the investor, and we are both moving in the same direction. One of the ways we do that is being present in the areas that offer investment opportunity. Whether that be here or in any of the 22 states that we currently offer management services, we manage over 27,000 units nationwide and are actively involved in acquisition. For 2021, our goal is to add another 8,000 units to that total. We specialize in single-family homes and smaller multifamily buildings, generally under 50 units. Additionally, we work with developers and HOAs to manage those services for their developments and subdivisions. We currently manage over 10,000 HOA units across the country, We are a national company. However, each of our markets are managed at the local level, which gives us the flexibility to adjust our pricing and services to meet our local market needs. We're also a one-stop shop for all things investment property related. Whether that be acquisition, we assist owners with purchasing, new investors with education and looking at analyzing new properties. Of course, rehab and renovation, we manage and coordinate that process to make sure the work is done top quality and cost effective. Of course, management includes leasing, marketing, and tenant screening. Also, rent collection, timely payments to owners, and accurate reporting, and eviction processing whenever necessary. Maintenance, of course, we screen vendors, counsel owners to minimize expense and avoid unnecessary maintenance costs. And lastly, disposition. From time to time, we do have owners that wish to sell. Of course, it is always nice when we can connect buyers and sellers together. Of course, we also, if they are referred to us by a local realtor, we will refer them back to that realtor. By the way, we do have a realtor referral program. Any realtor that refers an owner to us and that owner contracts with us for property management services, we will pay a referral fee of up to $500 for each unit referred. As Sharon pointed out earlier, we value clear and open communication. That includes having owners giving access to their property information at any time. That is done through our online portal. Both owner and tenant will use this portal. Access to all past and current statements, information regarding management fees and any unpaid balances. Of course, profit and loss. As we stated earlier, budgeting is crucial for your overall plan. One of the objectives of budgeting is to help you stay on track. Tracking and sticking to your budget helps keep costs down and will also identify any budget problem areas. That would include our vacancy rate of any property. This can result in lost income as well as added expense due to utilities. In the previous slide, you saw that we track vacancy by percentage. Here we additionally track by number of days. This is done for better reporting and determining asset performance. Many of our investors own multifamily buildings. These can present their own challenges when it comes to tracking information. We keep it simple and user-friendly as possible. Leasing systems are set up so we never miss an opportunity. We do that with great systems and user-friendly remote showing, systems in place to lead to source data, showing activity, and real-time feedback, all resulting in shorter days on the market, better tenants, and higher rent rates. Security is also something that we feel very strongly about. Therefore, our self-showing system prospects can schedule their own showing, and lockboxes codes expire after 2 hours. One of the advantages of being a national company is tenants have access to 24/7 emergency maintenance call center because problems just don't happen during office hours. Along with tenants' access to 24/7 maintenance, owners will have their access to detailed reporting to all maintenance issues and progress status as they are completed. Field techs have the ability to update maintenance logs in real time. Maintenance logs allows for communication with everyone involved, which includes HomeRiver Group, of course, owners and tenants. As you can see here, our onboarding process can appear to be daunting. Because of the experience and professionalism with our team, the process is efficient and stress-free. Of course, on the opposite side of the screen, you see my contact information. If you'd like to reach out to me or send me an email to discuss anything further, I am happy to help. So that concludes our presentation. Again, thank you everyone for joining us and giving up your hour to spend with us. We're grateful for your attention. At this time, again, I'd like to, if you have any questions, please put your question in the chat. We're happy to answer them. If your questions for any specifically one of us, please put our name in the chat so we can answer appropriately. Thank you, Vicki.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, everybody. Rich, you do have a couple questions. Let's see. One of the questions is, does the HomeRiver Group use an in-house repair crew or do you subcontract?
I'm going to let Bridget answer that question, if that's okay.
Yeah, I'll answer that. Currently, we have both. It depends on where we are and where the property is. Indianapolis is currently hiring a new tech. And Fort Wayne, we do have a tech. In Ohio and Kentucky areas, we have a tech. But we also do use subcontractors. It all depends, again, on the time, need, and cost that would be involved with finding the best possible scenario for the owner.
Good. And actually Brooke answered that in the chat also. I see just a few people who have put their names and emails into the chat. This is your last chance to put your information in the chat so they can draw for the $25 gift card. And please do that. Any other questions before? So Rich and ladies, are you planning to draw while everyone is on the call, or are you going to draw and then notify them?
We will go ahead and draw and then notify before the end of the day.
Okay, so wait, so are you going to draw while we're here on this call?
No, we will draw after the call. We're
After
getting
the
all
call.
the information now. And then before the end of the day, is it okay if we send it out to you? And do you want to send it out, Vicki, or do you want us to do that?
No, you know what? I'm going to let you do it. And so everyone, they will actually receive a list of everyone who was on the call. So any last questions before we get off? All right. Well, so thank you very, very much. That was a lot of information. It was a lot of good information, and it's nice to work with such a professional company. And all I can say is thank you all for joining us, and thank you HomeRiver team for being part of Cyrea. And if there's nothing else, we're going to let y'all go.
Thank
Thank
you,
so
Vicki. We
much,
appreciate it.
everybody. It was nice
Thank
to meet
you.
everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.